Another Monday, another edition of Ask Mike, and we got a Christmas edition. Mike Irwin, not the Grinch. This is Santa Claus in the PTN office, and he's even got the red vest to match. So let us be among the first, hopefully out there, to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you're celebrating. Mike, great time of year. How you feeling about Christmas? You a big Christmas guy, or maybe you get a little bit older? Does it lose some of its shine?
No, because I'm lucky because I got my kids and grandkids all within a few miles, so we always have Christmas together.
And that is the meaning of Christmas. It's about being with the family. What about the Razorbacks? If some of the more famous Christmas movies out there, It's a Wonderful Life. Maybe not quite a wonderful life for the Razorback fans. It's 2-10 in the football team. The way things end at the College World Series, it's been quite the year.
Yeah, and I mean, going up to this last basketball game, everybody's all jacked up for that game. It didn't work out the way they wanted, and now some fans are really upset.
Yeah, it felt like that was a true marquee showcase. Arkansas wins, they could be in the top 10. They did show well at times, but unfortunately Houston is pretty clearly on that day the better teams. Diving into our first question here, coming from Hill Country Hog, who asked, when is this going to end with football over? I was looking forward to success in something we're really good at. Getting bullied by Houston has damaged my Christmas spirit. All right, I like it. We're keeping up with the Christmas theme here.
Yeah, look, I've never told anybody how they should react to a loss. If you're one of those fans that it really just knocks you for a loop, then just let it knock you for a loop. I mean, you don't have to be miserable, but if you are, you are. I've read a lot of stuff in the couple of days since that's happened. I think most people have put it into perspective. Some haven't. Look, when you play a team like that, and let's just talk about Houston. They were in the national championship game a year ago. Have a lot of those guys back. Clearly the more experienced team. And I think Arkansas caught them at the wrong time. I also think Kelvin Sampson had a week to prepare for that game. And here's what I think he did. I think he looked especially at that Texas Tech game, but the one after that too, in which both Carter Knox and Kevin Brazile couldn't do anything wrong. And I think he said, we're gonna target those guys. And they came out and double teamed them both, trapped them both, and they made right off the bat some bad passes. You're stuck in the middle, you got to get the ball to somebody else, and they got careless. It gets picked off. All of a sudden they're on a run, which ended up to what was that, 19-2, 19
so it felt like got up to about 17 or 19-point lead there. It was pretty big.
Yeah, well, it got up to 21 at one point. Now, the interesting thing was, and Cal's got this thing where if you get 2 fouls in the first half, you sit. And a lot of people have criticized him for that and said he shouldn't have done that. Well, guess what? When those guys went to the bench, they eventually ended up down 21, but it was 8 at the half. The problem was in the second half. It was a draw. So if you're down 8 and you actually get outscored by 1 in the second half, you're going to lose the game. They just never could get over the hump. But you also have to consider something. I watched Houston play a lot this year, including a game where they lost to Tennessee. They don't normally shoot threes the way they did in that game. Their defense is their thing, and their balanced scoring. Now, the one thing you really still have to keep an eye on with Arkansas is that on-ball defense. It was just bad. I mean, and people say, I've had people come up to me and say, well, Cal doesn't teach that. I saw him do it in practice one day where they let us watch it. He's out there basically explaining to those guys how they can't slide off the side of a defender because it's just like opening up the gate. Yeah. But they keep having that problem. So a lot of that scoring was either layups or three-point shots that they were on a roll. Now, they went through a phase where they stopped doing all of that, and Arkansas started playing better on-ball defense, and that 21-point lead went down to 8. And it looked pretty good at the half because Arkansas has been a second-half team, and I thought they were going to win the game. But I just think you got to give Houston credit. They're good. They could end up winning the national championship this year. But here's what you got to understand when you play a game like that. It's all about how you play on that day and how the other team plays on that day. And sometimes you get two teams and it's a great matchup and it's close the whole game. But look at the Duke game. Duke pretty much dominated Arkansas. It wasn't as close as the scoreboard indicated. Okay, then Arkansas plays Texas Tech, pretty much dominates the game. Wasn't as close as the score indicated. Then what happens? Texas Tech beats Duke. Mm-hmm. So you're like, wait a minute, we're going in a circle here.
Any given day here.
Yeah, any given day. So I think if you look at it that way, and I think a lot of fans are, they're not too upset about this. You know, you're not going to, when you come up with that many when you're going to play everybody in the Elite Eight from the year before it's over, you're going to take some losses.
So what was your bigger takeaway from this? Is this just a game where, you know, hey, that was a bad 8-minute stretch and they fell behind it? And you take that away and really, you know, they kind of won the other parts of the game, or I don't know here. There's some issues here, some inconsistencies, some problems defensively that could continue to rear its head.
Yeah, again, the way Brazil and Knox reacted was not good. Hopefully they'll learn from that. The other thing we haven't talked about is Malik Thomas. I'm just telling you, people act like, well, all you got to do is stick Billy Richmond in there. If he's not playing, that'll be fine. That's fine. Richmond is hot and cold. Yeah. You don't know what he's going to do.
Not really a true scorer like
Thomas. He'll come in and give you a jolt, and then all of a sudden he's turning the ball over. I'm just telling you, Malik Thomas is a really good player. And for some reason, he's in a slump right now, and he's got to come out of that slump because he and Acuff are the keys to this team. Yes, Brazil is important, and you know, some of the other guys obviously I think are getting better, but Cal's got to figure out what's going on with Malik Thomas.
Yeah, foul shooting was a bit of a killer too. Back in the day, you're old enough to remember it. You remember those Phi Slamma Jamma teams coming in Southwest. Look at you starting to smile. You remember Eddie Sutton, those Houston teams, or any of those memories from back in the day that stand out?
Well, yeah, Arkansas occasionally would beat them. I remember Elijah almost blocking a shot there, but Arkansas hit a three-pointer to beat them one year. I remember one year they looked like they were going to run Arkansas out of the gym, and Arkansas came back and won the game. Also remember how Eddie Sutton fans used to claim that Guy Lewis just coached pickup basketball.
Roll the balls out.
He just roll the ball out there. He's got so much talent. And Eddie Sutton was asked about that in a press conference one day, and he said, if you say something like that, you don't know anything about basketball. He said, yes, the way I coach, very patterned, very disciplined, but Guy Lewis knows how to coach players like that, and they're not good just because he rolls the ball out there.
Yeah, some of those Houston teams. Absolutely. Clyde Drexler, Kim Olajuwon, they were incredible. It's crazy that they didn't win a national title. Just Win, our next question here, wants to know, what's up with Cal getting all chummy with Sampson after the game? Arkansas just got dominated by Houston, and he's smiling like Arkansas won the game. I promise most of our fans did not take it that way. That loss hurt.
You got to understand the relationship between those two guys. They go way back. They're not just friends. They're good friends. And I actually saw an interview with Cal before that game where he talked, it was an interview with Sampson where he talked about how that when Cal called him about the Arkansas job, he told him, this is a good place for you. It's a good fit. I know enough about them to know you will like it there. So here's a guy that's basically helped bring Cal to Arkansas. Here's what I'm thinking Cal was thinking when that game was over. And he may have said it something to this effect to him, like, okay, you just gave me everything I need to know to help my team get better. I don't think I helped you because you guys, what we did to you is like rat poison. Your guys are going to think they're unbeatable now. So they're probably joking around about stuff like that. That's what coaches do. I mean, here's the thing that people need to understand. The reason fans get so upset in situations like this, my dad explained this to me years ago. He was talking about a high school game in our hometown. He said, fans can't do anything. They just sit up there and watch. So when you lose, what do they do then? They just stew over it. He said the coaches can come back out there, players come back out on the practice field, you're working to get better. Those people can't do anything. They just sit there and stew. So it's just different being a coach.
Yeah, and it seems like Cal is really giving some shine to his peers this year. Like he really lathered up Tom Izzo, now with Kelvin Sampson, even to a lesser extent, more of an up-and-comer, Pat Kelsey at Louisville. So, he's kind of shown some love to some of these guys.
And I think if you're going up against another coach that's that good, most of the time you're going to respect them. Every once in a while you get some stuff bad blood going between coaches. And it happens more in football than I think basketball. But I think most of the time really good coaches respect other good coaches, and they tend to be friends.
Yeah, Kelvin Sampson, outstanding coach. Multiple times they've been to the Sweet 16, gone far here in the NCAA tournament in recent years.
He knows how to coach defense.
He's got that thing humming. Now, we know there were some discussions about him coming here. How good of a fit do you feel Kelvin Sampson would have been at Arkansas?
I think it would have
8
been a
years
good
ago?
fit. It turned out that he was trying to get a coach in waiting for his son, and he got that deal worked into his contract. So whenever he decides to retire, a year, 2 years, or whatever, his kid's going to be the head coach there, and he decided to stay.
It's not nepotism. It's what we all want. We all want to do right by our kids, right? Next question here coming from Hogden of Dissonance, who says Tennessee beat Houston and Houston thumped Arkansas. Both are blue-collar physical teams. Even though it's a home game January 3rd, my gut says we're going to have to really be ready to bring it that day, or it will be another season-opening loss in the SEC.
Well, I mean, that's the way it works in the SEC. It's not just Tennessee. I've been watching Georgia. I've been keeping an eye on them. They're pretty good. You know who's good this year? LSU.
Wow. They're one of the only 2 teams that didn't make it to the tournament last year.
They look
right?
pretty good to me. Ole Miss is kind of slumping a little bit, but I just think, Tennessee beat Houston. Now, they don't. As I said, Houston didn't play that Tennessee the way they did Arkansas. And Tennessee's had some games where they look good. They've been like Arkansas. They've had some games where they don't look good. It's going to be here. I think Arkansas will win that game, but be prepared. When they head back out on the road and go to a place like Florida, they got to go to Alabama, got to go to Georgia. Those are the games that you're going to find out about this team.
You have 4 SEC teams from 1 year ago. 14 teams made the tournament. 4 of them in the Elite Eight: Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee. Do you believe in the transitive property in any way? That whole Arkansas beat Texas Tech, and then Texas Tech beat Duke, and Tennessee beat Houston. Why do we do that in college sports so much? Football, basketball, that seems to be where it applied. Like, well, hey, we played them tough. They played them tough. We should be fine.
Yeah. It just happens that way, I think, among good teams. Do I have my cell phone with me? I don't know. It keeps going.
It's all good.
I think it's off over there. I think it just happens when teams are evenly matched, and there's a bunch of them. Look, I don't expect the SEC to be as good. I don't expect it to be as deep as it was last year. I don't think they're getting 14
teams. That's unprecedented.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. There's some good teams in there, maybe 6, 7, 8, but not 14.
Yeah, it's still probably one of, if not the deepest college basketball conferences, but last year was absolutely unreal. All right, still a whole lot more to get to here on Ask Mike. We've got to take our first time out. Back here on Ask Mike, and very much in the Christmas spirit, we're diving into that Arkansas-Houston game that really did not quite go the Razorbacks' way, but still 9-3, sitting in the top 20. The Razorbacks still have everything in front of them that they want to accomplish. Next question here coming from Nolan Fan, who asks, why does everybody act like Houston blew us away? If we shot free throws like we normally do right there, if they don't go crazy hitting three-pointers, we beat them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good way to keep it into perspective. I mean, it all depends on how you react to things. You know, I look at a lot of stuff on my phone. I don't know what I'd do without my phone.
We all do it, right?
It's got the internet all over it. But I came across some podcast, I don't know. It's some guy that covers nationally college basketball. I looked, he's got a couple 100,000 followers. I don't know how. But here's what he said. He said, he was talking about a lot of teams. He said, I took Arkansas out of my top 25. He said, they haven't really beat anybody. And he said, Oklahoma killed them. I'm going, what? What? When did Arkansas play Oklahoma? Arkansas hasn't beaten anybody? What are you talking about?
Yeah, beat Louisville, Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But that's kind of, I guess that tells you that even a podcaster can be as kind of kooky as some of these fans are. But look, yeah, it's a way, you just look at it that way and you think, hey, come on. I mean, I can't say that this doesn't mean that, I mean, some people have concluded. You go to Hogville right now on that basketball forum, and there are people saying, well, we're a top 25 team. We're not going to be in the Sweet 16 this year. We're not going to go that far. We might win one tournament game. And I would just caution everybody to understand, at this point in the season, you have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah. Even the day before the tournament, you don't know what's going to happen because it's all about how you are going into the. You got 6, 7 guys that are going to contribute. Every one of them has a different personality. Every one of them's going through different things. What if you get a kid and his girlfriend dumps him right before the thing and he's all down? Oh gosh, what do I do? John McDonald, the great track coach, used to tell me that's one of the biggest problems athletes have is their girlfriends. Yeah. Can really knock you down if you have a problem. So you can't predict this stuff.
Well, I think the NCAA tournament just in general is so unbelievably unpredictable. All it takes is
why is it so much
one
more,
kid on the other side to get hot, and you could be some trouble.
why is it so much more unpredictable than the football playoffs? Because now we got all this debate about these guys shouldn't even be in
the
there.
G5 teams, right?
Yeah, and I mean, football is pretty much spot on. You don't see a lot of that.
You know, it's hard to cross sports just because they're so different. You know, basketball, you're talking the college game, you got a 30-second shot clock. So a ball-dominant player can get his hands on the ball every single possession.
Yeah.
In football, it just doesn't, you know, there's 22 guys on the field. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in basketball, you got foul trouble. You know, where you could pay all this money to go to this game, and I want to see Cam Boozer, and he's the best player in the country, and he gets 3 fouls in the first half and doesn't play half the game. There's no other sport like that. Like, it's one thing to get injured. You could be completely healthy, and you're not really allowed to play.
Yeah, you may have a targeting thing every once in a while, but for the most part, you're not going to have to worry about losing a guy in the middle of a game.
Are you anti-G5 teams in the playoffs?
We got a question about that later on. I'll tell you what I think.
All right. We could have had some balling games. You know, if it would have been Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame, Ole Miss, those could have been some big-time games. But, again, not to cross sports, the NCAA tournament, we love the Cinderellas. But Cinderellas don't really exist in football like that.
That's right.
Next question here coming from Malik Ewan, the one and only. Yep, that Malik Ewan, who says, blame it on me, missed too many free throws.
Yeah, I put that in there because I found it on X, and it's him. It's his account.
It was?
The reaction to that's been really interesting. A lot of fans really like that. They like the fact that he came on and showed accountability for what happened, and he's been getting a lot of love after that post from people that are saying, wait a minute, those missed free throws weren't the only thing. First of all, he missed 7, so if he makes every one of them, they still lose by 2, so that didn't cost them the game. And you think about all the fouls he drew. He got them in foul trouble. That's part of what happened to Houston at one stretch there. He got guys in foul trouble, and they went to the bench. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think that's probably the most important development of the last few weeks is the way he's come along. Because remember, it's not that long ago that he was scoring 4 points, wasn't doing anything, didn't seem to be distributing the ball very well. And I really thought, after watching him, because I hadn't seen him a lot until this year, I really thought, okay, he's one of those guys that has to be set up. He can't do it on his own, you know. He's got to get somebody to feed him the ball in there. No, he was taking the ball mid lane and just going left, going right, going straight to the basket. He was getting fouled. He wasn't making a lot of shots, but he was drawing fouls. If he can play like that, and Brazil, most games I still think is going to be pretty good, and if they could just get Pringle, I don't know what's going on with Pringle. Just like I don't know what's going on with Malik Thomas. But if those guys come around, this team could win a national championship.
Yeah, I think the Thomas thing has just been more of a, kind of adjusting to life in college basketball. Darius Acuff has taken right to it, no problem. Malik Thomas really flashed early, but as the competition's gotten better, it does seem like maybe the lights are a little bit too bright right now.
Listened to somebody this morning talk about that again on my phone, and they were pretty much, now I don't know that I'm willing to concede this yet, but they were pretty much indicated he's coming back. He'd have to come back. They don't think he's going to be anywhere near the kind of draft choice he wants to be. So we'll see. I still think he's that good. I don't know what's happened. Early in the season he was that good. He's a shooter, and you need shooters on this team. And he can also get inside. He's quick enough he can get inside and score. He's not quite as physical as Acuff, but he's a good player.
Acuff has been incredible. I think it was John Rothstein or one of these national writers has their preseason All-American teams, like the top 15 players in the country, Acuff making the cut right now, and he has been that good. And another guy who can get up onto there, Trevin Brazil. He's having All-American type numbers at times. The highs have been really high, and the lows, unfortunately, have been a little bit too low. Next question here coming from Bud Ticket Holder asks, why did we go all the way to New Jersey to play a team from Texas? I'd rather face Houston in Houston and have them come back here next season. I love the games on campus. It's a TV show. When they're on campus, they look great.
Yeah, I think they need to try and do as many of those as they can. Now, look, I don't fault Cal for wanting to play at least a couple of these tournament games, especially if you can get to a place like New York. If you go to Dallas, it's a recruiting benefit. Even up around New York, he recruits up around there. This didn't have quite the impact of that because it was over in New Jersey, and you didn't get as many Arkansas fans. I don't think you tell somebody to go to New Jersey, fly all the way up there to New Jersey, and they might think twice, even though it's not very difficult to hop across the Hudson River and go over into Manhattan. But I don't have a problem with playing in these tournament games. First of all, most of them are on high-profile games on TV, so it helps your recruiting. You know you're going to be on TV. I think maybe there was too many of them this year. I would say if you had 2 home and homes that you scheduled, 2 teams that you scheduled home and home, like we've got Michigan State coming in here next year. Yeah. If you had another team coming here this year, and then you had to go on the road twice, I think that would be a good mix, because then you got 2 really good home games in November and December that you could use to draw a big crowd.
Yeah, the atmosphere against Louisville, which not necessarily a home and home, that was the ACC, SEC. So next year they're going to have to go on the road. Possibly that game could be North Carolina. North Carolina's in line to be a home team next year. Arkansas will be a road team. But one thing I wanted to bring up, 2 of these atmospheres were outstanding. The game in Chicago against Duke, that was pretty good. But the Texas Tech game, that was tremendous. Now, the game really delivered there. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Well, but that's a good place to play one of those tournament games is in Dallas because, first of all, I don't care who you're playing in the Dallas area. If you're Arkansas and you come in there, you're going to have the crowd because that's the #1 alumni area. In other words, the number of people that are alums outside of the state of Arkansas, the #1 place is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We can go all the way back to those old days in the Southwest Conference when they had that Southwest Conference basketball tournament, and people would just people from Little Rock jump on I-30 and just scoot right on in here in a couple of 3 hours. They would come all the way down from Fayetteville, and you had that. They used to dominate. What was the name of that place? I've forgotten the name of it. That big arena they had down there. It doesn't exist anymore. But going all the way back that far, you have in Cotton Bowls. Anytime Arkansas plays in a Cotton Bowl, everybody's going down there. People love
famous games against SMU, Southwest Conference days.
People love to go to Dallas from Arkansas. So I think that's one you ought to try to have every year one way or another because it's almost like a home game.
Yeah, one I'm looking forward to. Opening day in Arlington this year, Oklahoma State. They got the full weekend there. They're opening in Dallas this year, so it should be pretty cool. Next question here coming from Tejano Hog. I think that's it. Tejano Yog. What Feliz Navidad, right? Message to Razorback fans. Please don't do the horns down sign in front of the TV cameras. The horns is not a symbol of the state of Texas. The state has lots of cool stuff from barbecue to Big Ben that has nothing to do with that school.
Okay, he sent that in right after the Texas Tech game. That's not a reaction to what went on up in New Jersey. And here's what I would say to that. You put Razorback fans in Dallas, they're inside the state of Texas. Somebody's going to do a down horn sign.
Texas, the school in that state,
it's just a thing. There's just a thing. Just like, and I was watching this A&M Miami game, and it was before the game ever started, and they're showing shots of the crowd. These are Aggies in their own home stadium, and they were doing the down horn sign. They weren't playing Texas. It's just something you do. I mean, if you don't like Texas, and you do that sign, you're going to do it anytime you're in Texas. So I don't have a problem now. If that, I don't think I've ever seen a Razorback fan outside the state of Texas at a game do the down horn sign. But when they get inside the state of Texas, it doesn't matter. To them, Texas, the University of Texas is the whole state of Texas, the way they look at it.
Why is there so much passion involved in the Gator Chomp or, you talk about Miami, putting the U upside down or whatever, the horn. Why do they care? It's all in good fun.
Sure it is.
It's a lot better than
it's wonderful.
Insulting somebody's like true character or their family or something like that. Like this is just a gesture. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, the stupid thing where they were penalizing teams. I guess players shouldn't do it. I don't know.
The throat slash I kind of understand.
Yeah, but that's not part of what we're talking about here. So the Gator Chomp, any of that stuff, it's fun. It's what makes college. You don't see that much in the pros. I like it. I think it's one of the things that separates college football from other sports. So I think it's great. And if you want to do the down horn sign, do it, but just don't do it outside the state of Texas. Or if you're playing Texas, it doesn't matter where, you can do it.
And Arkansas kind of has an edge in that category because the hog call kind of hard to make fun of. There's not a whole lot you could really do with that one.
SMU's band did it one year. I remember Arkansas was doing the "Ooh, pig suey," and as soon as that, their whole band went "fooey." Ooh, pig suey, phooey, and it made people mad, but it was pretty funny.
Nothing phooey about Mike Irwin. More to come here and Ask Mike after a quick timeout. Happy holidays from us here at the PTN team and from Mike Irwin, of course, the one and only. We can't have Ask Mike without Mike Irwin himself. 50 years covering the Razorbacks, diving right back into your questions in one of the year-ending editions here of Ask Mike. Hog Dogger says, Hogs seem to play their best ball in the second half, but is that because they wear the teams down in the first half so they have more energy, or is it something else?
I think that was a thing in the Texas Tech game, but that's because Tech doesn't have a lot of depth. I think most of the time Arkansas plays better in the second half because Cal makes good halftime adjustments. It just didn't happen in the Houston game. They played a draw, really, and the two good coaches both made halftime adjustments. And if the game had gone, if the first half had gone the way the second half had gone, that would have been a nail-biter game back and forth the whole way. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a game where two teams are just back, boom, boom, back and forth. Second half was like that. Arkansas just started 8 points down.
Yeah, it was really just, we were talking about that one stretch where, that bad 7-8 minute stretch kind of changed Arkansas for the rest of the way. Next question here coming from S. Giles, who asks, after beating Kansas City 92-77, the Lady Razorbacks have more wins than all of last season. But how much better are they than Mike Neighbors' final team at Arkansas? Kelsey Music, Mike, she's bringing some energy.
Yeah, they're better. And when they play well, they're a lot better. And here's how they're better. They're more physical inside. They can score inside. They can rebound inside. They can distribute the ball inside. And they don't rely nearly as much on outside shooting, although at times they do shoot well from the outside. They also play much better defense when they're playing well. I don't think I've ever seen a team more hot and cold than this one, though. I mean, I watched them a lot. At the end of the first quarter, they might be up 18 points. You get a minute and a half, 2 minutes into the second quarter, and it's down to 12. What happened? The good news is usually when a team makes a run on them like that, there'll be a point, even if it gets down to 4 or 5 points, where they turn it back around and it goes the same way again. They just start stealing the ball, hitting threes, making layups. A persistent problem they've had when they're not playing well is, it looks like to me, a lack of focus, because they do turn the ball over a lot when they're going through one of those phases. The other thing is they miss layups left and right. I don't know if you noticed that. You'll have 3 Arkansas players around the basket. One of them puts up a layup, comes off the other side to the other one. They put up a layup, comes off the middle to the third one. She puts up a layup, and it comes off, and then finally they've lost the ball. You've had third chance points there, and you don't score. But again, that happens when they're not focused. And so she's got some time. We'll see what happens when SEC play starts, but they've already won more games than they did last year.
And shout out to the ladies here at Arkansas. Man, they've made some incredible progress. Women's basketball certainly trying to go in the upward trend, but for a gymnastics program to be getting, what is it, 8,000-9,000 a game now?
Yeah.
At Bud Walton Arena, no longer in Barn Hill like it was many years ago. The softball team getting 3,000 people a game.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And Courtney Deifel's
done a great job recruiting.
She got a squad again this year.
Yeah, she recruits really, really well every year.
It seems to be a good watch, too. Softball, for those maybe not fully invested in it, really fun watch. Really good time. They seem to create a great atmosphere there at Bogle Park, too. Next question here coming from Pigs Feed, who asks, how would you rate the staff that Coach Silverfield has put together so far?
Again, if you understand what he's trying to do, I think it looks pretty good. If you're one of these people that says, well, wait a minute, did he go out and steal? If he'd gone out and gotten Kane Womack from Alabama as the defensive coordinator, then people would be going, wow, how did you do that?
Like brought back Kendall Briles.
Yeah, or something like that. Steals somebody from a school that's winning. But first of all, what he did offensively is he brought most of his staff is from Memphis. And it's clear to me that he's comfortable with those people. He's an offensive coach himself. He's comfortable with those guys, and he feels like those guys will do the things he wants done offensively. I like the fact that he looked at this team, and the real problem was the defense, and he said, whoa, we got to do something else here. So he goes out, and he gets in Ron Roberts from Florida, and everybody's going bonkers. What are you talking about? Their coach got fired. What do you want him for? And if you don't look at this guy, then you don't understand why he did that. He's got he has a reputation going all the way back to Baylor. He was a really good defensive coordinator at Baylor, also Auburn, and now Florida. And it's what his defense does. He does that multiple front thing where he brings a bunch of guys up on the line of scrimmage. At the snap, certain guys drop back into zone coverage and others attack in a blitz. And as a result, he gets a lot of sacks. He gets a lot of thrown for lost plays. He gets a lot of fumble recoveries when you do that kind of stuff, when you hit the quarterback. And for whatever reason, I'm going to have to watch, I'm going to watch the secondary a lot if they allow us to watch practice in the spring. But for whatever reason, this guy also comes up with cornerbacks and safeties that get a lot of picks. And that's pretty important if you're playing zone coverage, because zone coverage with Arkansas is like oil and water. It didn't mix very well the last few years.
Not much coverage of any kind mixed well with Arkansas the last 2 years.
And he has a reputation of secondaries at cornerbacks, especially that come up with pick sixes. So when you recruit a guy, when you bring in a guy like that, what you understand is he knows what the problem is. He brought this guy in to solve those problems. The running backs coach, David Johnson, out of Florida State, been there 5 years. I mean, they keep dominating the ACC in rushing yards and in touchdowns on the ground. I think last year, 31 touchdowns on the ground, 213 yards a game rushing. This is what you want. If you're going to throw the ball, you need a good running game too. And Arkansas, they've got to bring in some running backs because they're running a little short right now. Yeah. This guy can recruit. He was their recruiting coordinator. There's already rumors he's going to bring in a 5-star running back, maybe a 4-star running back, maybe somebody from Texas, maybe not, but we'll see. But with his reputation, I would expect him to bring in at least 2 name running backs during this portal period. So you like that.
You mentioned Ron Roberts. You speak highly of him. $2 million salary. That's the highest ever to any Arkansas assistant. Yeah. Does that tell you they had to outbid some other people?
Yeah, it does.
There must have been some competition.
Yeah, it does. It does tell me that. And I want to mention Morgan Turner, too, because I was wondering what was going to happen there. Because for the longest time, there was no mention of the tight ends. I think he and Petrino were the 2 best coaches on that staff by far and away. And the fact that they decided to retain him tells me that Silverfield knows his stuff. He went in there, he looked at what the tight ends did, talked to the guy, sat down and went, "Ooh, yeah, I'm keeping this guy."
So Jeff Myers, the offensive line coach, and you mentioned Turner and Petrino there. I thought Mateos did a really good job last year.
He did.
Were you a little surprised maybe? And it seemed actually, I'm speaking for him. I know that's not fair. It seemed like Mateos wanted to stay.
I think he did, but I also think Silverfield wanted to bring his O-line coach over from Memphis, and then he had a connection with a guy he had coached that was in the NFL, and he was an assistant offensive line coach at Ohio State. So they brought him in, and now they got two guys coaching the O-line. Got 2 guys coaching the D-line, maybe as many as 4 guys coaching the secondary.
Ridiculous.
It's really confusing to me when I look at the number and try to figure out how many is on this staff. Numerically, it seems like it's 13.
Yeah, I think it could be 12 or 13 full-time coaches,
But
yes.
with the way they're talking about 4 coaches in the secondary, I don't know how this is going to work out. I do know that he's got 8 more guys on the staff for at least 21 guys on the staff. And that tells me they've got a lot more money than they had last year to hire people and to pay them.
Yeah, we were doing some of the math with these figures being public. From what we could tell, and this didn't even factor in Morgan Turner's salary yet because it wasn't disclosed, 25% higher in terms of a salary pool than they had 1 year ago. So a much better financial investment here by Arkansas under Ryan Silverfield, even though maybe, hey, they didn't spend like top dollar for a head coach. Right. Next question here coming from TL Slayton, who asked, were you surprised when Antonio Jordan announced he was coming back? I never had any question about it from day one. He's been a Razorback, nothing else. Of course, Mike, this is a kid from Warren, but he's got some deep ties to Arkansas.
Yeah, it was very well publicized when they landed him that he went nowhere else. He didn't talk to any other coaches. From day one, he said, I'm going to Arkansas. So you know he's Arkansas solid. He wants to be here. My only question was, A, Sam Pittman at SEC Media Days said this. He said, this is a guy that can play as a true freshman. He's going to help us this year. Okay, what do we do as media people? I know what I did. I was out there shooting video of this guy. And the first couple of practices, he looked amazing.
Highlight reel. Yeah.
Big, tall guy, big hands, reach out, catch a ball that's out of bounds, do all this stuff. But then we didn't see him as much.
Got hurt early.
He did, but then Petrino, we asked him, and this was still in camp, what's going on with him? And Petrino said, look, he's overwhelmed. So I knew that it wasn't going to be probably what we thought it was going to be. Probably needed a year. Didn't mean he wasn't going to play, but then, as you say, he got hurt. Only played 2 games, didn't have any catches. So I'm looking at all that stuff and trying to mull it up in my head, and I'm going, well, wait a minute, maybe he'll leave. Maybe there's something there that he would change his mind. So I wasn't sure, but when I saw he was coming back. And I also had a question about Monte Harrison. He's that former pro baseball player that's now, he's probably 31 years old now. And I think that guy is going to be good, but he got hurt too. Having both of them back at wide receiver and getting a couple of guys back that played there, that started there last year, they're going to be fine at receiver. And I think they still may bring 1 or 2 in.
Yeah, some of Arkansas's top players in recent years have been picked over in the transfer portal. That hasn't happened this year. Now, on Monday, Ian Geffrard, one of their top defensive tackles, did go into the portal. But aside from him, are you impressed that they really haven't lost an impact player?
So far, yes. In fact, I was on a radio show this morning, and they were asking me, are they retaining too many of these guys? I mean, are you keeping too many of them? Well, we're not there yet.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of turnover.
Yeah, you may see a rush of guys leaving as we get closer to the first of the year. But, yes, I'm a little bit surprised at how many they've retained, and it looks like to me they're doing it because they're paying these guys. I don't think they're coming back just out of loyalty. These days you got to pay too. So I think they've identified people that they want back here, and they're paying them, and they're keeping them.
You nailed it. Listen up. This is important. Don't get it twisted. Those kids, Quincy Rhodes, KJ Jackson, they're not coming back for free. Caden Kittler, another one, pretty good player, could have commanded some big dollars. Arkansas is finding the money. So the Luke Haas, the Jalen Braxton, the Pooh Paul that we saw a couple years ago, that ain't happening anymore. So things are changing here under Ryan Silverfield. Time for one more before we take a break. Parallax Pig wants to know, what's it going to take to get these mid-major teams out of the college football playoffs?
Okay, I like what Nick Saban said, and I've heard other people talk about this, which is you just give the group of 5 their own playoff. Put them in there where they...
Easier said than done, but yes.
It may be easier said than done, but that is the solution because it works for them. It gets more of them into the playoffs rather than 2. Let's say they had 16 teams. I mean, what do they do at the FCS level? How many in that playoff?
24.
24.
But wasn't, to interject here, James Madison was more deserving than Duke. At 8-5, lost 5 regular season games, lost the game to Connecticut. I know Connecticut's 9-3, but still, I think this is a Duke problem. If Virginia would have won the game or Miami would have found a way to win the ACC, it would have been a little bit different.
Some people are saying that instead of doing it the automatic thing, if there's a group of 5 team that's actually ranked in the top 12, then let them in. But otherwise, don't do it automatically. But I still say they're separate. We've talked earlier about the difference at those different levels. It's not the same in football as in basketball. Here's what I would like to see. Get them their own playoff. Make it 16 teams. Make it 24. I don't know, however they want to do it. Give them some of the money that you get from the playoffs, the TV money for the Power 4 playoffs. And then go to 16 from 12. That adds 6 more teams to the Power 4 playoffs, what we call the college football. 16 would be good. 16 teams, you wouldn't have these arguments that we just had.
I like 12, but 16 would be cool.
But can you imagine how many arguments you eliminate if you go to 16? Now you don't have Notre Dame mad.
We got 68 in the NCAA tournament, and somebody's always pissed off.
But I'm telling you, I mean, Notre Dame's just going to whine themselves to death over this. And it didn't have to happen if you had more, got more in.
Woodward and Bernstein, follow the money. And that's, if they would have had Oregon and Texas, and they would have had Ole Miss and Notre Dame, they would have been worth so much more money.
Absolutely. Imagine that first round, watching that instead of going on. I turned over to that one game, the James Madison game, pretty early on. I was, it's not even worth watching. I didn't even watch it. I would have watched it if it was close, but it's not.
We were talking about this actually earlier in the show. It's not apples to apples with the NCAA basketball tournament. Football is just such a different sport. And I love college football. I love these Cinderellas. I do. But it's not the same. That Boise State team that beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl in 2007, they had multiple NFL players. That TCU team that won the Rose Bowl, beat Wisconsin, J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson. That was a loaded up Wisconsin team. Multiple NFL players. Utah with Alex Smith, an NFL quarterback. They had another Utah team that beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. It's not with the transfer portal. It's not the same. These JMU teams, these Tulane teams, they don't have the NFL talent like some of these programs.
Yeah, because they leave. They get somebody that's good, and then they take off on them.
So it's not the same. It pains me to say because I want everybody to have a chance, but you're right. It's like, what are we doing here? It's square peg, round hole. They really don't belong, but you're going to have to pay them to get them their own playoff. They're not just going to go away for free. All right, not done just yet. We got to take a break here on Ask Mike. Back here on Ask Mike, and time to put a bow on this edition here. Next question here coming from Marty Bird's Proxy, who asks, what do you see as the future of bowl games? Can you see a future where everyone who doesn't qualify for the playoff gets a +1 game, something similar to the conference challenge format in basketball?
I don't know if that'll ever happen. Here's the thing. I don't know what's going to happen to bowl games. We're now seeing teams reject bowl games. And
Does that bother you?
No.
As a historian,
no.
The way things were, you understand it?
Because I started arguing this all the way back to when we had the 2-team playoff. I started saying, look, if you have a real playoff, bowl games can go away. The reason bowl games existed, they were inventing college football years ago. They started with that 69 game in Rutgers or wherever, and they're just playing, and it kind of meandered around, and you didn't have the conferences, and then for a long time the Northeast was where all the good teams were, and then they called the little over in Ohio was the Midwest. I don't know how that was ever the Midwest, but that's where all the coaches were and good. And then down here in the South, everybody was considered separate and worthless. I mean, when Arkansas won their one that went undefeated in 1909 or 10 or whenever it was under Hugo Bezdek, that was considered the championship of the South, not the national championship, the championship of the South, and they were undefeated. So they just sort of wandered around, and then somehow you ended up with some bowl games, and people went, "Oh, we'll have bowl games," and it's because you didn't play for a true national champion. People that weren't around back then don't understand how frustrating it was for somebody like me to sit there and watch a national champion be declared by a bunch of writers.
Before they even played the bowl games.
Yeah, it was the UPI, and there were 2 of them, UPI, United Press International, and Associated Press. So you had two press services that were on teletypes. That's how people got their information. There was no internet. Stand around a teletype machine and read stories. And these people voted, their employees voted, the sports writers, and they created you're a national champion because a bunch of sports writers say you were. And I'm sitting there watching high school football every year and watching a real playoff and going, high school has it figured out and you yo-yos can't do it? So I didn't care about the bowl games that much. I would much rather now you could incorporate some of those games like they have incorporate the bowl into the playoffs. But you see some of these, the Gasparilla Bowl and some of these things, I mean.
I think that's part of the problem. They created, we're up to 41 bowl games. There's just, I know you remember this. As little as 30 years ago, going to a bowl game meant something. It wasn't just you went 6-6 and you got to go to a bowl game. It really was the best 20, 30 teams in the country.
Yeah. But now what you've got is you're sitting there looking at that and you're going, is this even worth this? And then it's on TV, but it's like low ratings.
Yeah,
and
the famous Idaho Weed Whacker Bowl going on right now with Washington State and Utah State on the blue turf with dozens and dozens of people showing up.
Oh, absolutely. So, again, I don't have any love for these bowl games. I mean, maybe the big ones, the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl and Sugar Bowl and whatever, okay, somehow work that into the playoff system. But the rest of I just think eventually it's going to go away. And then what do you say to those people that made the playoffs? Well, gee, they got to play an extra game. So do we let everybody else play an extra game? How do you schedule that? You're going to Arkansas this year, who are they going to play? They're going to find some other team that won 2 games and play them? And how do you work that out?
It's got to be a team with a losing
And
record.
then with the portal, I mean, you're going to have people jumping and leaving and stuff, and you're going to ask them to come play in a bowl game after they've won 2 wins?
You bring up the portal, so I'm going to kind of change directions here. Can you see a time, I've heard this starting to get a little bit of traction, not there yet, a spring portal, spring football move to May, more of an OTA NFL model? If you heard anything like that.
I haven't.
So the portal would open in April, basically be all month long in April, and then you'd have 2-3 weeks of some off-season team activities.
Well,
that wouldn't interrupt the playoff or the bowl games or any of that stuff.
What I would like to see is spring football that actually play a game, even 2 games. Now, people are going to say, we get people hurt. Well, there's always that risk, but that's one way to jazz spring football up.
When you say play a game, like maybe Arkansas plays Pine Bluff or Arkansas State.
Yeah, you don't go out and play Alabama, but you do play somebody that you can probably beat, and it's good for both of you. Their players get to come in and play in a big stadium, and you're not going to sell it out, but it'd be much better than a team playing itself. Spring football games, offense versus defense, 1s versus 2, that's not fun to watch.
No, I at least want to see 1v1, and they don't want to get hurt. So when they're playing not to get hurt, it's just not a good product.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Silverfield handles this, because Pittman had reached the point where he didn't even have a spring game. That was bad. Yeah.
Next question here coming from Eddie Lynn, who says, what was your reaction to the Aggies losing at home to Miami? At one point, they were 11-0, thinking national championship. Now they're 11-2. For the 60th time, we'll win it all next year.
Yeah, Eddie Lynn and I go back to a time at Jones Stadium in Lubbock, and I've explained this many times. And Arkansas fans, they can't relate to this, but when you grow up in an agriculture area, you've got 2 kinds of people. You got rich farmers, and they send their kids to A&M because they got money, and that's a better agriculture school.
They got crazy money,
money. Then you got average farmers, and they send their kids to Texas Tech, and they're probably having to, get a student loan to go there. And it's the same thing with business people. Rich, wealthy business guys where I grew up, they send their kids to A&M. It's a better education. So Tech was considered inferior. Well, those of us that didn't look at it that way, we didn't like it. I can still remember going to games in Jones Stadium, and kids who were going to A&M but were from the Lubbock area would come and go to the game, and they'd dress up in their Aggie gear. There were some fights out there. Mm-hmm. And so it was Texas Tech fans versus Aggie fans in the same stadium, and they didn't like each other. And so what Eddie Lynn and I did was we quickly figured out there were things about A&M that we thought were ridiculous. Number one, what's up with those guys in the white Mr. Clean outfits doing those weird things that they do where they're, we're like, who are these goofballs? And then Aggies, I have Aggies in my family. I have an uncle that was on the team at Monsanto that developed Roundup. And he still gets mad because they get sued. And he says, it's not causes cancer, and he'll argue with you all day long. But he was a strange guy. He's my uncle, but he's strange. There's something, I've always believed there's something about getting around all these other Aggies at College Station that affects your brain. And the longer you're there, I've been there before. Jason Carroll, who was our previous sports director,
Shout out Jason Carroll.
He scheduled us to spend the night there. And I was like horrified. We're going to spend the night in this town? I was afraid I'd wake up brainwashed. And so, I just don't like, my idea of going to College Station is get there about an hour before the game, cover the game for 2.5, 3 hours, spend 30 minutes after the game getting post-game, and then get out of there. Get out of that whole place. So, yeah, he was watching that, and I was watching it, and here's what I said. I said, I told him, because it looked like that Miami had the game won when they scored that last touchdown.
Right.
And I said to him, here's what's going to happen. A&M's going to come back, and they're going to go all the way down the field. They hadn't come close to scoring a touchdown, but they're going to go all the way down the field, and they're going to get to the 10-yard line, and it's going to fall in there. And that's exactly what happened. I've seen that so many times, I can't even, and he's right. Here's what happens. 100,000 Aggie fans, 5 minutes after that happened, they sit there and absorb it for about 5 minutes, then they leave the stadium, and they're all saying, you know what, I think we're going to be really good next year. We're going to win it all next year. We're going to do it. We're going to get some players, we're going to spend some money, and we're going to win it.
College football's version of the Cubs. That's what Texas A&M has turned into. Time for my favorite question of the week here, coming from Hog Redneck, who wants to know, what do you think about Bobby Petrino going to work for Bill Belichick? I see disaster written all over this. I am fascinated by this, and to be clear, we don't know if this is true yet. It seems like it's heading in that direction, but nothing finalized. Just to be clear, we don't want to be reporting that Petrino.
Yeah, it may not happen. I'm not
but
sure.
It looks like it's going to happen.
Okay, here's the deal. This could either be something really good, and it will be very interesting, maybe. But if they work together and Petrino turns that thing around, it'll be a big story in college football. I promise you, it'll get them a lot of attention. But it could turn out to be the soap opera story of the year in college football, because it could fall completely apart. I mean, you could get Belichick fired, You
got the motorcycle guy, now you got the 23-year-old girlfriend guy.
Yeah.
And you get, Petrino's one of the best offensive minds in college football. Belichick, the NFL mind. Petrino, failed miserably in the NFL. Belichick's failing miserably in college football. There's a lot of layers to this thing.
It's a weird kind of marriage, and so we'll see if it happens. But it will be interesting. I will say that.
Do you really think Bobby Petrino can get along with Bill Belichick?
I don't know.
Because I think Pittman was a good personality for Petrino to work under.
Because he was so easygoing.
Yeah, because Pittman doesn't exactly scream dictator, I'm the boss, my ship to drive kind of thing. So Bobby was able to sort of do his own thing. Bill Belichick is not that way.
Yeah.
He's completely antithetical to that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know enough about what Petrino's year at A&M was like. I don't know if he got, if he butted heads with Jimbo or any of that stuff, but it'll be interesting. Again, I don't know. I'm a little surprised that he wanted that job, but whatever.
Well, if, Belichick's 3-9 or something, or 4-8, guess who's they're going to be talking about potentially promoting on the staff?
Yep.
Bobby Petrino, once again, maybe is another shot at being a head coach. Did a pretty good job. Final question of the week, Whippersnapper asks, do you have a favorite holiday season memory from covering the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Most of them are not good, because if you're covering Arkansas in a holiday period, you're probably on the road, which means you're not spending Christmas with your family, your wife and kids and all of that. There were some exceptions. There was a Cotton Bowl game, and I can't remember when it was, but my wife was not working, so she was off, so she took our two kids and took a friend with her too, and they got their own room, mainly for the friend, and the kids and my wife stayed in my room. And then they drove our car down, and then followed me, and I was with somebody else, a photographer, and we went down. And
Mike Irwin's version of Christmas Vacation.
Well, and we did have Christmas in our room that night, Christmas Eve, and then the Cotton Bowl was on several days later. That was an okay Cotton Bowl trip. I will say, though, that any of those holiday things at the Cotton Bowl were better, because the Cotton Bowl is by far and away the best bowl there is out there. None of them ever come close.
Why is that?
Well, I think it had to do with Charlie Fisk sometime in the 80s. Now, Charlie Fisk is from Springdale. When I got here, he was the women's sports information director for the whole women's side. And he was good, and he was easy to talk to. But he left there and got a job working for the Cotton Bowl people, and very quickly they realized how good he was, so he became their media guy. And he was so good at dealing with problems that popped. Anybody that's ever been to a bowl game, there's all kinds of issues. You're trying to find out information. You can't get it. Maybe there's something wrong with you. You had a guy and you thought he had credentials, and then he doesn't have credentials. There's just a bunch of things that can go wrong, and he was really good at working all of that out. But the main thing that they did was they moved the media hotel out to Las Colinas, which at that time was pretty close to the Cowboys practice area. And there was a golf course out there, and so media people could play golf out there.
Outing or something?
Yeah, they let it, I think it was where they play the Byron Nelson, I don't know what. But they had, you could play golf out there, but they had this, and it was a high dollar hotel. I don't know how they swung it, but they had this high dollar hotel that you could tell they were used to really fancy clientele, and we're not. So they had this wonderful media room and buffet room. They had the food in that place was unbelievable. They were bringing this stuff out. You had your choice between 5 or 6 different things that you could eat. They had waiters in these little suits with bow ties, and they would come around, and you'd tell they were looking at us like, who are these jokers? They had computers set up, and this was a long time ago when computers weren't that common. Computers set up so you could do your work over there on a computer in that room. They had a bowling alley game. They had basketball shooting games. They had
Take
contests.
the guy back. He wants to go back right
Yeah,
now.
they had contests out there, and whoever won the contest, I remember one year, one guy won a big giant screen TV because he won the basketball free throw shooting contest. So it was just a lot of fun. I was talking to a friend of mine that helped Charlie for a number of years. Charlie's now retired, and this guy's still doing it. But he said it's not like it was in the old days. He said teams come in later.
Yeah.
He said the coaches don't even want to have these press
It's
conferences.
only like 1 or 2 practices.
Yeah,
now.
he said it's not like it used to be. So it's just a few days. Back in those days, you were there for a week.
Yeah, we got Cotton Bowl this year going to be Miami and Ohio State going to be a playoff game. So Indiana, Alabama, and a Rose Bowl. Who would ever thought a couple years ago we'd be getting that one?
But that's the last Cotton Bowl I went to was the one Petrino won. And
Kansas State.
And they were mad at him. He did all kinds of things.
Trying to shut down practice.
Oh, he wouldn't cooperate with any of the Cotton Bowl people. And guy's telling me a story. He's down on the field demanding to know who the MVP is 5 minutes before the post-game press conference. And we have to have it or we're not going to show up. And they're like, we can't tell you that now. The writers are up there voting on it right now. So they were mad at him. And I will tell you that after that bowl game, the statement was made, and I think it was from, in those days, the guy that ran the Cotton Bowl was an ex-Razorback. And he made a statement that as long as Bobby Petrino's the head coach at Arkansas, they'll never be invited back to the Cotton Bowl.
Sometimes that's out of your hands. All right. He's Mike Irwin. I'm Trey Dare. Thank you so much for joining us here this week. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever your fancy is, and a Happy New Year.